Welcome to What's the Problem, the show where we dive deep into some issues facing the world of cyber and data security leaders today. And in each episode, we are joined by expert guests who share their insights, their experiences, and their knowledge on the worlds of cyber and data security. So whether you are a seasoned veteran or a new leader in the field, this podcast provides valuable info and strategies to help get your organization or your department moving up and to the right. So join us as we explore the evolving landscape of security and discover a few takeaways that you can walk away from this episode with. Today, we are joined by Theresa Jones. Theresa, say hello to our listeners and our viewers.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And Theresa, can you let our listeners and viewers know, what's your background? Why are you qualified to talk about security?
Just aside from being a computer nerd, I'm actually the CEO and proud owner of Evolve IQ, or a cybersecurity and technology consulting firm headquartered in New Orleans. I'm a certified cybersecurity trainer, as well as what we call a CMMC registered practitioner, which means I specialize in getting small businesses ready to do business with their cybersecurity for the Department of Defense. In addition to that, I'm on the Governor's Cyber Commission, and I specialize in the maritime space due to the maritime clients that I have as port authorities, as well as the Louisiana State Supreme Court. So I do a lot with cybersecurity on a high level as well as a low level in terms of small businesses as well.
So let's start there and talk about small businesses. I know that cybersecurity insurance has come up in the past couple of years as something that a lot of small and medium-sized businesses really need to pay attention, not just carry a policy, but actually pay attention to the contents of that policy. When you're talking to small businesses in particular, and let's define that as businesses with fewer than 50 employees. When you're talking to a business of that size, what are some of the initial pieces of advice or tips that you're giving them about what they should be looking for in a cyber insurance policy?
So I call it the big four. You want to make sure there's privacy liability coverage. You want to make sure there's network security coverage, errors and omissions coverage, and media liability coverage. That would be the foundation of a good cybersecurity policy for any small business.
And can you expand on those four? What does each one contain?
Certainly. So privacy is going to cover if something happens to a company's data for their personal identifying information or their PCI compliance in terms of credit card information and such. It will cover things of that nature. Network security is going to cover in case of a network outage. Here in Southeast Louisiana, we have hurricanes. So if your internet goes out and the power is still on and it's not on within 24 hours a day, you can actually cash in on your business interruption for network security, and you get paid your annual revenue for the day on all days that the network is not happening. So that's huge for us in South Louisiana. The errors and omissions will cover everything from a breach to what I call a bacon, egg, and cheese, which is a business email compromise. I always tell customers they have to understand there's a difference between a breach as well as a bacon, egg, and cheese. So a bacon, egg, and cheese doesn't sound that bad, right? That's usually when you have a small business has an employee that has given away money. They've clicked on something, initiated a situation, versus a breach is going to be an incident that could be anything from a tornado throwing a computer out of the facility and you just don't have access to that device in the data. And people don't think about cybersecurity breaches as being that. We think of when the OMV loses data here in Louisiana.
Right.
But a breach is anytime there's access to a device or data that your company is supposed to have in its possession and you don't. So it can be from natural disasters to actual hacking or people commandeering information from your network from other ways that's not traditional hacking, right? And then your media liability, if you're anything like me, you have to really watch what you say because I say some crazy stuff sometimes. So it covers when we're saying things online. If you are heavy in social media, some things people say is pretty controversial. Say I might want to sue you because of it. That's how we protect a small business because of the insurance that's in place for them. not based off of, okay, well, in a court of law, you said it, it's in writing, I'm going to sue you. This is how you protect yourself, utilizing insurance.
Interesting. And am I to understand, just asking this question for the viewers, the media liability that most just general umbrella and, general liability or errors and omissions policies would not cover that cyber comment that you made?
No, it won't. Just as well as the errors and omissions won't cover, or general errors and omissions won't cover if your employee gives your money away. So like recently you see a spike in companies that have employees clicking on things, making transactions. I just was told a story about a young lady who, her small business of 10 employees, somebody gave away $200,000. She went to the bank. The bank said, you have to go through the insurance because technically your employee initiated it and gave the money away. So you're at fault. So the young lady contacts her insurance company, and her insurance agent tells her, well, you opted out for cyber insurance and your GL and your errors and omissions will not cover this because it's specifically under cyber. But how many small businesses know that's under cyber?
Yeah, right. So that seems like a big gotcha. Like, what other kind of gotchas exist? Like maybe in the network side of things, any other gotchas and policies that small business folks should be looking for?
Absolutely. So a good example of a good gotcha is, what can you do if you have a breach? There is in the fine print what you're allowed to touch and what you're not allowed to touch, and what timely, how fast you contact the insurance company, that you have to report it to law enforcement, which law enforcement. So you really have to read your policy. You can't just, oh, I got it. Your IT person, IT company, as well as your incident response plan or business continuity plan in your organization should have those details. Because if you break any of them, your policy is null and void at that point. So you've paid into a policy that you won't collect on, and you still have to fix the breach issue.
Interesting. So would it be a wise idea to actually keep like paper copies, can actually print a copy of your policy? Because they're going to mail it to you anyways, right? The insurance company's going to mail you a paper version. This seems like one of those instances where, right, if you were locked out of any systems or had access issues from an incident, that you actually might have to pull it up and look at the paper and read that way.
Correct. So I tell all of my customers, in your incident response plan, you should always have it printed out as a binder. You should have your insurance policies, all of them, printed. My binder goes in a waterproof backpack because I'm in Southeast Louisiana. So if I got to run from water, nothing will get damaged. I also have, Amazon is like always your friend. I have waterproof document bags to put insurance policies in, not just for like the home, for the business. So I have a whole go kit specifically for the business to make sure that I have this information with me at all times, even if I don't have access to a computer.
So I know we've been talking about a water-based event. I'm thinking just of other, natural events. Obviously, fires happen, like you see those out west a lot. Seems to be a similar idea. It might not be a waterproof container, but having something in a fire-resistant container and taking that with you as a small business owner. That's kind of like just one last thing that you throw in the car as you drive away.
So they have twofold document holders. So there's these really cool like $20 ones that are water and fireproof. So I have the documents in the backpack. So if the house catches on fire, I still got the backpack with that one item to make sure I have at least the insurance and a birth certificate and a social security card and a passport is always in there at all times. So definitely you have to worry about tornadoes. Truthfully, if a tornado comes through, you're not going to find anything. So where do you
it's going to take that and send it wherever? Yeah.
Where can you stash stuff at? Safety deposit box. You can stash things in the cloud outside of your region. You can get real creative with saving copies of documentation.
How many, because you just gave a few good thoughts there. in terms of points of redundancy, how many places would you store this information, or recommend that small businesses store this information in?
So I'm a maniac. I have it in 3. So I have
Okay.
it electronically on an external hard drive that's in a waterproof case that's in that backpack. I have it printed in a binder at the office. I have it printed in the travel bag. I also have it saved in the cloud in a data center that's at least 500 miles away from the hurricane zone of Louisiana. So I have it 3 different spots.
So, and if you're a listener not in South Louisiana or on the Gulf Coast, it sounds like, 500 miles in terms of selecting strategically a data center, at least 500 miles
Correct.
from a coast, right? Like think about the Northeast, like Hurricane Sandy came in and did a lot of damage in New York, New Jersey. So you're really talking about at least 500 miles west, like specifically choose that data center for where that information is going to be stored, instead of letting Amazon Web Services or GCP or whomever just pick your data center. You specifically say, I want this one.
Correct. Because usually if there's a natural disaster, whether it's an earthquake, hurricane, tornado, flooding, 500 miles, it should have either stopped, slowed down, or something in a perfect world. So we always say 500 miles outside of your disaster area. So if you know you're in Tornado Alley, what's next to the left? 500 miles or to the right. So that's why we come up with the 500-mile radius for that.
That's a good example for Tornado Alley. Think of like North Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma. You're basically going to split it and send it either, west to Nevada or Utah. I'm not trying to remember what's west.
Right.
Or we're headed east. Yeah.
Exactly. Way. So we sending it to Nebraska, Ohio somewhere. Or we send it to North Dakota to get it further this way. Or is that too close to too much ice and water from the coast? Like you want it 500 somewhere, just not in your backyard.
Yeah, okay. I know we're coming up on time here, but there's been a lot of really fantastic takeaways for business owners. Any gotchas that we haven't covered yet?
I always tell people read the fine print on everything. A lot of people do not read their end user licenses for software. So for example, Microsoft has on page 6 of their end user agreement that they do not back up Microsoft. You're responsible for backing up your Office 365, and people don't know that. And we naturally assume because you have organizations that are like Microsoft, these huge conglomerates, that if a hurricane comes or whatever, it's safe, it's in the cloud, Microsoft has it. What if it hits too many data centers, or if there's heat there, water here? So I'm a firm believer, read all of your documentation, read the fine print, don't just click accept. I know that's hard because it's like 30, 40 pages, but you still need to know what you're responsible for, right? So you need to back up not just pertinent information in terms of client information, but back up your Office 365 account. That's huge. Office 365 can actually cripple a small business if you don't have the files that you've been using in Excel, Microsoft, Word, not necessarily PowerPoint, depending on your business. But I think a lot of people are not paying attention to that. And in some of these cyber insurance policies, you're required to have backups. So a lot of people aren't paying attention to the fine print where it says that you are agreeing to do this. So I think it's very important that we always be considerate of what the fine print says in our insurance policies, in your network infrastructure, whether you have, a local ISP, you need to know what their downtime is potentially going to be. A lot of people don't even know that, but it's in your paperwork. They have an SLA agreement with you that you just clicked agreed. But in that agreement, it tells you, hey, that you potentially could be up to 10 days without internet in a case of an act of God. Well, you might want to know that so you can have MiFis and things like that on hand. That could be a gotcha when it comes down to your insurance. Because if the insurance, you want to do a claim, but you signed off saying it could be up to 10 days and I knew this, it can void your insurance. So you really kind of want to know very detailed things about your equipment, your network infrastructure, how you actually save and do things, as well as what the insurance will cover and protect you on the back end of it.
And I'll ask you a leading question here as we finish up. For those who, just struggle with the 30 and 40 pages of this and that and the other to read, I'm sure that somebody like Theresa Jones and her group at Evolve IQ could assist with that process. Is that accurate? Is this like something that y'all do for other people?
Actually, we do. So all of my clients, when we take them on, we actually do a software and insurance review. We need to know what you got based off of the kind of customers you have, who are you going after, and you need to make sure that you're managing your risk by having enough of it. So we actually do check that for our clients so they can be in a happy place, and we won't have incidences like a local municipality that had 3 million in insurance, 10 million in damage, and had to come up with $7 million because no one took the time to plan and review the insurance. So it's important that you know that information, as well as know how much equipment that you have, because some policies will even go as far as to give you the money to replace the damaged equipment, but you don't know if you don't know to ask.
Right, right. Well, Theresa, thank you so much. For our guests, thank you. That is a wrap for this episode of What's the Problem? And we hope you found our conversation with Theresa Jones to be insightful, to be informative. I've got a pilot of takeaways for my own business. I'm sure that you do as well. And remember to tune in next time for more discussions on the latest in security. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to our host, MKG Marketing. MKG is focused on helping cybersecurity businesses get found, generate leads, and close deals. So if your cyber business is struggling to do any of those things, let us help you. To learn more, you can visit our website at mkgmarketinginc.com. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, click that button, and leave a rating for this show. Theresa told me she only likes 6-star ratings on the 5-star scale. So you've only got her to let down if you're not giving us a 6-star. So leave those ratings when you have a moment. And thank you for listening.
Have a great one.